So let's talk about Brendan Fraser. He just won an Oscar for The Whale. It's a movie about a fat guy. But Dove, the people who make soaps and they have a lot of body positive commercials, they responded to a tweet that basically, co-signed this idea that we are against Brendan Fraser because he's not really super fat. He just put on a fat suit for this role. So more roles for actual fat people, not for people pretending to be fat. So this is problematic. Brendan Fraser is problematic, and so that's a brand. That's a actual brand that produces soaps, and they co-sign this whole message, this woke message that only fat people should play fat people. Even though Brendan Fraser is like, he's not super thin. He's like kind of fat in my mind. But he had to put on a fat suit for this role. Fair enough.
But he also, supposedly, he put on weight too, is what somebody said.
Did he? Okay.
Somebody said he had
But he also did put on a fat suit. That's
Okay.
fair.
Yeah.
That's true. But they had a problem with that because they were thinking, why didn't you cast a fat person in this role? And my question would be, guys.
Yeah, we're so past that.
It's acting. Should you cast rapists as rapists? Should you cast Nazis as not? What is this? Can people not act in a role anymore? This is acting. What the hell? I mean, like Daniel Day-Lewis played a quadriplegic or whatever, and he's not a quadriplegic. Should you have only cast a quadriplegic? This is so asinine and so like peak woke left. That's just comical. I don't even feel like I have to make a reasoned argument against it, but I will make it anyway. The idea that you can only play a role if you actually embody the important parts of that role is stupid. It's so stupid. And I was against this when they railed against what's her name for playing Ghost in the Shell.
Live action.
You watched Ghost in the Shell, right?
No, I didn't watch the live action. I can't stand live action.
I mean, you be fair to hate live action because it's terrible. Did you watch Cowboy Bebop?
Live action? No, are you kidding me?
Are you sure? You don't want to watch that?
I can honestly say I haven't. I've seen less than probably 10 seconds of that. I don't know. I've only seen stills. I think I don't think I've even seen any.
So Scarlett Johansson, who's not Asian, played Ghost in the Shell, right? She was in Ghost in the Shell. And
that's problematic.
People say like, oh, you're white. Even though, I mean, in Ghost in the Shell, that character didn't have a race, correct?
I don't know.
You watched the anime, right?
Yeah, I don't remember it at all, basically.
But I don't think the character had a race. And in fact, it may have just been like no race because it's not a human, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with Scarlett Johansson playing.
I don't either. And the other thing is,
it just has to be reasonable and not suck. And I think they failed. Yeah, they failed that with Cowboy.
They failed on that part, but it's not about the race.
Right.
Okay? I had no problem with Scarlett Johansson, but since then she's had to apologize, or maybe she didn't apologize. I think she did.
Yeah, this is just insane.
Or did she? I don't even know if she did. There's just like this whole like retroactive, and even if it was years ago, and you're a white person and you played a character that somebody said should have been played by a person of color, you're now made to apologize. And I just think it's so fucking performative because who gives a fuck? Like the movie has been made. You bitching about it is not helping a person of color actor in the current day get a job. So, and number two, some of these characters, they weren't even arguably Asian or whatever, or non-white. It's just ridiculous. The idea that you would whine about this today, do you have better stuff to do with your life is what I'm asking.
This is why it makes no sense to buy U.S. government treasuries.
Right.
So the
other issue I have with it, issue I have with it is when it comes to Asian media specifically, there's tons of good Asian media that has tons of talented Asian people in it. Go consume that media. And that's not even me being like a gotcha, like hey, just go do this or whatever. I'm Asian. I consume Asian media. A lot of it's good. I'm not saying, oh, just go consume that or whatever. No. A lot of it is excellent and you should go consume it. That's honestly, sincerely my advice to you. So if you're whining about this, it tells me that you just want to whine. If you really, really, really were for Asian people having representation in media, you would just consume all of the awesome Asian media that is literally out there right now. If you were really, really pro Asian and you were thinking, yeah, Asian people deserve more shine and they deserve more attention, then you would just go consume that media and you would tell other people to do the same.
It's
That's
true.
what you would do.
I've never heard any of these woke Asian. Actually, they call them boba. What do they call them? Boba Asians or boba? I've never actually heard any of these woke Asians try to push Asian media.
Right. They don't realize this, but it's so racist that they're thinking if we don't have Hollywood movies that have Asian people in it, then Asian people have zero representation. What the fuck are you talking about? Asian people have tons of representation. They're making good media right now, and you are blind to it or ignoring it, or I don't know what's going on.
It's more available than ever.
You can consume K-pop. You can consume K-dramas. There's subtitles, even if you don't speak the language. There's subtitles. You can consume all of this stuff, and there's good stuff out there. Go consume it. So for you to act like, well, if Hollywood doesn't make a movie that has Asian people, that must mean that Asian people have no representation in media.
Doesn't it feel like
False.
these people are just fighting over scraps right now? Just because Hollywood, the importance of Hollywood is, I think, vastly diminished. I read a tweet by I think was it Paul Graham maybe was tweeting that he wasn't even aware like the Oscars happened or something like I can't remember. It's
Right.
basically
And I'm not aware the Oscars happened
yeah
either. And speaking of the Oscars, this year, that movie,
everything everywhere
Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I
yeah.
saw, by the way. I saw that movie.
I was actually gonna ask you about it because like I haven't seen it, but I was gonna ask you about it. Like, did you see it and what did you?
I saw it. Here's my opinion of it. Pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. It tackles like big ideas.
Interesting.
And so that's always welcome. I welcome movies that tackle big ideas.
Pretty good.
However, the
Yeah.
execution is only mediocre. It doesn't do a great job tackling these big ideas, and the film itself is kind of sloppy, but I would say it's average to above average.
Did it? I mean, did it? I almost don't want to ask the question, but I was gonna say, did it deserve to win the Oscars? Even though the meaning of the Oscars is like totally.
No, I don't think it deserved to win Best Picture.
Yeah. Okay.
And here's how I can tell that it doesn't. Okay, look, if this film was full of white people, there's no fucking way it would have won Oscars. I guarantee you. No way. No way. It won it because it was full of Asian people. And more importantly, it was kind of like an American production that had Asian people.
I
Now,
see.
Parasite, which was a fully Korean film, won Oscars a couple years ago. However, that's a fully Korean film.
Yeah.
Hollywood wants to take credit for being inclusive and diverse.
Mm.
They can't really take credit for Parasite because it's like, oh, well, that's made outside your system.
It is still virtue. I mean, it's still virtue signaling though.
It is how it is, but this is better virtue signaling because it's like you did it, right? Hollywood did it, and that's why they gave this film all the accolades it did. It was not quite deserving. It was just a good film. It was just good, just good.
Was it hard to follow at all? Because my parents told me that they
Yes,
had a hard time.
it was very
following.
confusing. It was disjointed. It was not well
God.
executed.
Oh God, that means
It was
I'm
not
gonna
well
struggle.
executed.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna struggle big time.
I
thought,
don't
but
want to say it's not a bad film. It's a good film, but it's not. I don't think it's Best Picture worthy.
yeah, if it's disjointed and stuff, that sort of means you need a good memory in order to follow.
Did you watch Elvis?
No, I haven't.
I would say that
can't even
Elvis,
name the last
Elvis, which came out this year, Elvis was a better picture.
Okay.
But you know why it can't win over this? All white people.
Okay.
But it was a better film. Look at we're awarding the first and I hate this fucking term. Asian identifying actress. Asian identifying actress.
Yeah,
I'm
because
like, okay, Michelle
we
Yeoh.
couldn't tell, yeah.
However,
So that means you can just identify as black? I thought that was
well,
I thought that
we don't
was
want to ask those
against
tough. We don't want to ask those tough questions. Okay.
just like
But here's my
other
well,
woman
but
who
here's
was
my question.
identifying as Japanese, right? There's
Here's
that
my
white-
question. Here's my question though. Like, how do they know she's the first Asian identifying actress though? Because did they ask all the actresses who's ever won what they identified? I don't think they have, right?
No.
Going back to like 1920, have they asked all of them? Hey, do you happen to identify as Asian?
That feels like that's a hole
No.
in their logic
It's a
there.
whole, right? What if they identified as Asian, black, man, child, whatever? Then you'd have to acknowledge that they were the first winner of it, right?
You'd almost have to assume that they were just going by their race.
Exactly. It's almost like you like looked at them. You just assigned something to them based on their outward appearance, which we know today is wrong, right? That's wrong. But is that not what you're doing to all the past actresses who've won? Because you didn't ask them if they identified as Asian.